Good afternoon, students. I am very thankful for you guys accommodating the fact that I have been under the weather for a little while. I am going to try and make a quick, brief tutorial for those who need it in order to fulfill parts 1.1 as well as starting with 1.2 and potentially finishing it. So hang tight. I'm gonna try to give this instruction as quickly as I can to help those who need it and to get us started on 1.2. So let's do it. For those of you who haven't already started, go ahead and grab your 18 by 24 sheet of paper, and we're gonna start making the drawing layout, which also includes our title block. Since it's such a large sheet of paper, the best way to go about it is to utilize your ruler, your T-square, and to start making the notes of where each mark will go. So if we follow the guide illustrated on the project sheet, we should have 2 inches, 6 inches, 1 inch, 6 inch, 1 inch, 6 inch, 2 inches, which would equal 24 inches, and then coming down vertically, 2 inch, 6 inch, 2 inch, 6 inch, 2 inch. So I'm just going to illustrate a way that you can go about this that kind of simplifies the process and allows you to do this. You want to start with your lightest pencil, which is a H. So 2H, 6H, whichever H you have. Use your lightest to create the layout grid so that you're able to draw on top of it with the appropriate line weights. So I'll get started. I need to start my increments, which is basically the pattern in which I'm going to go by. And I want them to be precise. So going in, I'm going to start with measuring my layout. Using my ruler, I'm going to go ahead and measure out 2 inches from the corner all the way in. So starting from the corner, using your lightest pencil, it should barely show up. And then you're going to go out to 6 inches. When you're looking at the ruler, you might accidentally mark where the 6 is, but it's best to know we're counting from that first mark to 6. So instead of just going to 6, you're going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then mark it. And then you're going to keep that pattern as you follow the grid on the project. So I realized I messed up. I forgot to add my 1 here. So now I can go back, erase the last mark I made, come here, get that 1 inch that I missed, add my 6 inches. Oop, there you go. Add my 6 inches. And then now I actually have that 2 inches that I need. So now I have that marked, and I'm going to do the exact same thing along the bottom. So now I have it marked where it needs to be. 2, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 2, 2, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 2. So then with your T-square, you're going to go ahead and connect those lines vertically, and then you're going to do the same thing along this edge, and you're going to get your 2 inches, 6 inches, 2 inches, 6 inches, 2 inches, and you kind of do that same thing. You created that grid and it lines up on top and bottom, left and right. So what's on top matches what's on the bottom, what's on the side matches what's on the side. And then you're going to use your light pencil still, and utilizing your T-square. In the absence of a T-square, I'll use my straight edge. And you're going to connect those lines from top to bottom, from mark to mark. So once you've done that, you can now go by the project sheet and create those boxes where those 6x6 are created. For instance, I'm gonna do this area real quick, but you're gonna do the whole sheet. I'll quickly do this area, and it looks like a column, but you can see how light my lines are. And that will make sense as we continue. So I've done it for both ends. So if you look, you can see how light my lines are, but you can now see that 6x6 square that's appearing due to my lines. And that's when we start using those heavier line weights so we can identify that a little clearer. So I only did a portion, but you're gonna do the entirety of the sheet. So I'm gonna quickly show you what that box will now look like as we create everything else about it. So 1 second. Now you can see, even though my lines are light, you can see that I've now identified my 6x6 box, and I use my B pencil to darken it, to add depth to it. So if you zoom out, you can't see as much that grid layout that I made, but you can definitely see the 6x6 grid. And that's what we're aiming for all 6 of your boxes. So continue that to get your 6 boxes, and then I'm going to show you the next step. After you've made the 6x6, you want to now make the grid inside, which is going to be a 6x6 grid as well. As illustrated in the project sheet, you're going to divide it into quads, and then divide each quad into 1-inch blocks. So basically 1 inch all around, 1 inch all around. So let's start with making the quad and then make the grid. It makes it easier to identify since they're 2 different line weights. If you want to do the grid first and then use the medium tone to make the quads, that's up to you, but I'll show you how it should look once you're done. So by the time you're done, it should look a lot like this. I have 1-inch increments by 1 inch. These were all made by my lightest, which is roughly 2H and 2H, 4H, whichever light one you have. Then I have my quad, my cross, which is my medium, and that is done by the mid-tone, which I prefer everyone to use HB. And then my large border, which is my B, my deepest lead, so we can identify the box. So this is what it should look like for the top 3 as of right now. So it's a simple way of helping to create grid and start the drawing process. So once you have all of this, you have officially made your drawing layout, and we are starting the drawings for 1.1. Hey students, so ideally when you finish your drawing layout, it should look something like this. This is your B, this is your light H, and the cross is your HB. So I've done this digitally just so that I can streamline showing it to you and its entirety. So we are going to explore what each of these drawings are. And referring back to the project sheet, we are going to make center, symmetry, and asymmetry. Center is simply identifying a focal point. So in this instance, we are going to identify what our focal point is going to be. We are going to start with our focal point. The first drawing is center. So anywhere on this grid that's not the axes, which is sort of like how books are, the part in which it folds across, y-axis, x-axis. You see it a lot in math, but we're going to use it in architecture too. So anywhere that's not the edge and not this axis, we are going to create a focal point. It is as simple as placing a dot somewhere. So I want to identify this as my center. You may choose that you want to put your center somewhere else, here, 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 anywhere that's on the grid. That is up to you, but that is where you'll identify it to be on the grid. I'm drawing the circle just to hyper emphasize where my point is. You do not need to draw this circle, but I want to know for myself that this is where I'm starting. You would then utilize your pencil in HB, the same tone that you use for this crosshatch. You're going to start from that focal point and you're going to connect it from there to every single corner within the box. So starting there, start, and you will keep going, connecting it to your focal point. It's going to become tedious, I know, but it'll all make sense once we get past this point, I promise. There's going to be a lot of lines, but you're going to be connecting every single one from where you started to the corner edges that intersect your grid. That is what my center looks like. I have a center point and I connect it to each of this. So my next task is symmetry. How do I create something that's symmetrical? In this instance, you will now identify 2 points that either mirror, reflects in the same position on the opposite side from either the vertical or the horizontal axis. So for instance, let's say I choose here, this point. I want to make sure I know this is 1, 2 down and 2 across. So I would start from this corner, 2 down, 2 across, and that is where my next point would be. So again, you don't need to draw these big circles. This is just so that I can show you where I'm making my points. So these are my points. This is my symmetrical points. And just like how I did for the first one, I'm going to take these individual points and connect them to each intersecting grid. But you can see how it starts. This is symmetrical. This side looks exactly like this side. And you might find that you might want to do up top and below. But the idea is that you want to create a symmetry. And you can do it from any point. You can do it from here, there, anywhere, as long as the opposite side looks exactly the same. So that is center, symmetry, and the last is asymmetry. Basically, as opposed to the first two, you are going to just select 2 random spots within this grid and do exactly how you did symmetry. But you want to make sure that they cross one of these axes. So if I put one here, I could put one here. That could be my asymmetry. If I put one here, I could put one here. that could be my asymmetry. The idea is that now you don't have to worry about balance whatsoever. You just need to draw those two lines, those two focal points, and create something similar to how you did here, where the lines cross while they try to connect to each corner, each individual intersection within the project. So in the end, you will have 3 whole drawings that showcase symmetry, asymmetry, and center. I'm not going to keep going, but you can get the idea of what I'm trying to show you. Once you've finished all 3 of these, you want to now do your architectural lettering, which is simply start from the top of your square and measure out 1/4 of an inch up, 1/4 of an inch up, so that you can start your architectural lettering. And that is simply, it's equivalent to saying we are writing in all caps within the bounds of this box. So your top letters, the top of your letters should hit the bottom, the top and bottom of your letters should hit the top and bottom of the lines. And that would make your letters 1/4. And you want to do that with all of these that you started, your first 3 drawings. Let's start there, and that is how you finish 1.1. Thank you so much. Try to get to this point, and I will upload how to do 1.2 so that everyone can start practicing 1.2 between now and class time. Thank you.